Multiply binomials by polynomials. Okay, so we start off with, and this is actually just two binomials. Nothing's going to change here. Now, what I would do is go ahead and write these in order, though. This first parentheses is 8 minus 3a to the second. That's not in a standard form. The letter should be in the front, and the constant should always be last. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this so that the that it is in standard form to start with. So I'm going to go negative 3a to the second, and then I'm going to put down the 8, and then the next parentheses I'm going to say 2a to the second plus 6. Right here there is no sign in front of the 8, so it's a positive 8. So this is my first term, this is my last term, this is my first term, and this is my last term. Okay, next we're going to go double smiles and double smiles. So we're going to do the first term first. So a negative 3 times a positive 2 is a negative 6. By now you should realize that you have two letter A's and two letter A's. So right here you have two letter A's, right here you have two letter A's. So that's going to become a to the fourth. Okay, now let's do the middle. Let's do the smile now. 8 times 2 is 16, and the only thing you have there is a to the second. Your outside smile is going to be negative 3 times 6. Well, that's 18, but you do have a negative sign, so it's a negative 18, and that's a to the second. So I have 16 a to the second minus 18 a to the second. There is no sign in front of 16, so put that as a plus. Now we want to multiply the last term, so we're going to take 8 times 6. 8 times 6 is 48. There is no sign there, so we write down a plus sign. Now we have this in order. The highest degree is 4, so let's circle it. Okay, then we'll go ahead and put down our boxes. We'll put our boxes around 16a to the second. We'll put our box around negative 18a to the second, and then we'll put our triangle around the 48. So my first term up is the circle, because our circle is always first place. So this is a negative 6a to the fourth. As for the boxes, that's going to be 16 minus 18. Well, you owe your mom $18, but you only gave her 16. So you need to give her 2. So that's going to be a negative 2a to the second plus 48. So let's go type this in. So I go negative sign, followed by the 6, followed by the a to the 4, because we're going to press the AB key. And this is going to be to the fourth. Press your space bar. And then we're going to go minus sign. We're going to go 2, then we're going to go a to the second, press the AB key, so that's 2, and then press the space bar. We're going to plus 48. So I have negative 6a to the fourth minus 2a to the second plus 48. Let's go to the next one. Now the next one, you have 3 terms in front. You have this trinomial, then you have this binomial. So see, what you want to do is you want to start off with the binomial. So you want to do the 2 part, then the 3 part. So you want to say r to the second minus the 7. Then you want to take the negative r to the second plus the 3r minus the 7. So separate these. We're going to separate these front terms here. So we're going to say r to the second. And in fact, let me give myself some more room, and I'll go all the way over more to the left. So make sure I have more room to work this out. So right here we're going to say r to the second. And then I'm going to copy everything in the trinomial. So I'm going to go negative r to the second plus 3r minus the 7. Okay, now I'm going to use the negative 7, and I'm going to go negative r to the second plus the 3r minus the 7. I repeat that again. Notice I repeat the trinomial and I just take the binomial apart. So right here is a 1. Right here is a 1. So I'm going to take 1 times a negative 1. So 1 times a negative 1, that's going to be a negative 1. And notice I have 2 r's and 2 r's. You should be able to clearly see that this is r to the 4th. So now let's go again. We're going to take 1 times 3, multiply the coefficients. This is 3. Now we expect our r to actually be smaller. So we expect the degree to be less than 4. That's what I'm talking about. So we have a 4, so we expect it to go down. So it's got to be less than 4. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then we're going to have 2 r's here. See how you have your 2 r's here? Here you only have 1 r. So you have 2 r's and 1 r. So this is going to be r to the 3rd. Okay, let's go on. Let's continue here. Let's go 1 times a negative 7 is a negative 7. Now we expect the r to be less than r to the 3rd. Well, right here is 2 r's, but there is no r's there. So this is going to be r to the 2nd. So let's go on. Let's take a look at the bottom parentheses here. It's going to make that a negative 1, and I'm going to just times it by a negative 7. Well, a negative 7 times a negative 1 is a positive 7, and notice your r's don't change, so you just keep it at r to the 2nd. So this is going to become a positive 7r to the 2nd. Notice that I put those in the same column because they're both r to the 2nd. So now let me take the negative 7 and times this by the 3. So negative 7 times the 3 is a negative 21. So we're going to get a negative 21 here. And then we're going to see that we only have one r here. So that's going to be a single r. And we expect that because the degree to the left is to the 2nd power, so we expect the degree to go down. Now we want to continue with our multiplication. We're going to take negative 7 times negative 7. Well, that's simply a positive 49. And there is no r's because we already used the last r in front of it, so there is no more letters left. So now we draw our line and we just simply add the column. If there's nothing there, just bring it down. So you're going to say negative 1 r to the 4th. If there's nothing here, bring down the r, so this is 3r to the 3rd. Okay, now this is a negative 7 and a positive 7. They cancel each other out, so this is gone. So that's 0. I don't have to write anything down. And then you get a negative 21r, and then you bring down the 49. Now these spaces here left, there's a plus sign here. Right here you have a minus sign, and then right here you need a plus sign. So this is our answer. Now when we type it in, there's not going to be a space between the 3r to the 3rd minus 21r. We're just going to skip that because remember that became 0. So you could go negative 1. You could go negative sign. You could say r to the 4th. But let's say that we put down the 1. Is it going to be wrong? Okay, we're going to put down the r. We're going to go to the AB key. We're going to put down a 4, and we're going to put down the space bar. We're going to press the plus sign. We're going to put in the 3. We're going to put in the r. We're going to press the AB key, and it's going to be 3. Space bar. Now we're going to go to the negative 21r. So negative 21r there plus the 49. Because remember, we skipped over the r to the 2nd because they cancel each other out. Now you could write it with the negative 1 or without it. You could write it simply negative r to the 4 or with the negative 1 there. So let's go and check this. And it's correct. So again, you can put down the negative 1 or you can leave the negative 1 off. So let's go to the next question. Okay, again, we have the same type of problem. Now, I want you to make sure of something too. Even though this is 2 terms and this is 3 terms, that's what we want, make sure that it's in standard form to start with. So make sure that each parentheses is in standard form, because sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes Khan Academy might switch something. So always make sure that the starting parentheses are in standard form. So we're going to say c to the 2nd. And again, let me move this over, give myself a little some more room here because these problems do take up a lot of space here. So we're going to say letter C to the second, and then I'm going to copy everything down with the trinomial. Okay, then I'm going to give myself room. I'm going to say -6. Then I'm going to say 2c to the second plus 3c minus the 1. Okay, so now let's go ahead and multiply here. So there's a 1 here. So we're going to go 1 times 2 is 2. Put down your 2. You should notice that after the 1 and after the 2, there's 2 C's and 2 C's. Now in the past I would write them out, but you know what? You can begin to see the connection here. The 2 C's and 2 C is going to be C to the 4th. Okay, so now let's go to the middle term. 1 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. And then you have also C to the 3rd. So you have 3 C's here. So this is going to be 3 and C to the 3rd. You shouldn't be surprised because if this one is 4, this one has to be 3. So now the next C, we're expecting it to be 2 because it's got to be less than 3. So 1 times a -1 is a -1. And notice there is no C's here, so we're just going to use those two. So we're going to say -1 C to the second. Okay, now let's do the second parentheses here. So we're going to take -2 times -6 times 2, actually. That's a -12. Notice it's C to the second. So this is a -12 C to the second. And notice I have a column for C to the second, so I stack those in there. Okay, now I move to the next column. -6 times 3. That's going to be a -18, but notice that I have one C there. So this is going to be a -18C. So let's move on to the last one. Now the last letter we left off with was C, so we expect nothing here. So we have a -6 times a -1. So a -6 times a -1. This is going to be a +6. And that term gets its own column. So now what's left to do is add. If there's nothing there, bring it down. So it's 2C to the 4th. We have 3C to the 3rd. Now you have a -1 and a -12. So you went to your mom, you got $1. You went back, you got $12. So altogether you have $13. But you need to pay her back $13. So this turns into a -13 C to the second. We have the -18C, and then we have the 6. Now there is no sign in front of the 3 terms, so we're going to write this as a plus sign. We have a minus sign here. We have a minus sign there. There is no sign here. So in front of that 6, we're going to write that as a plus sign. Okay, so it is in standard form. It goes 4, degree is 3, degree is 2. There is no degree. Actually, that is a degree to the 1, and there is none right here for the C. So let's type this in. So we're going to press in 2, we're going to press in C, we're going to press the AB key. We're going to bring this up to 4, press the space bar. We're going to go plus, we're going to go 3, then we're going to press C, press the AB key. This is to the 3rd. Press your space bar. This is a minus 13C. Press your space bar. Not space bar, press your AB key. So press the AB key because I've got to put down a degree here. This is 2. Okay, now we're going to press the space bar. We're going to go minus 18, letter C, and then we're going to go plus 6. So we have 2C to the 4th plus 3C to the 3rd minus 13C to the 2nd minus 18C plus 6. So let's go ahead and check this. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, now we're back to a binomial, and we'll write this out here. We're going to have D to the 2nd minus 3. We're going to have D to the 2nd plus 2. So this is my first term, this is my last term, this is my first term, this is my last term. Now let's go double smiles here. So d to the second and d to the second. So you got two d's, you got two d's. So you should be able to see that this is d to the fourth. And if you want, you could put a 1 here. We could put a 1 here. So we could say 1 times 1 is 1. So our coefficient is 1, and we have d to the fourth. So we could have wrote 1s there to make less confusion. Now let's do the inside smile. Negative 3 times 1. That's a negative 3. We know it's got to be less than the fourth degree, so it is. It's a 2 degree. As for the outside smile, 1 times 2 is 2, and again it's to the second degree. So we have negative 3 d to the second. We have 2d to the second. There is no sign here. Make that a plus sign. Now let's finish with the last term. We have a negative 3 times 2. So that's going to turn into a negative 6. So this is my highest degree. I circle. Okay, now second place gets a box. So the second place here gets a box, and then we finish up with the triangle. So my first term here is 1d to the fourth. Okay, then I got a negative 3 plus 2. So you owe your mom 3, you only paid her 2. So you owe your mom 3, you only gave her 2. So you need to pay her 1. So that's a negative 1. So I get a negative 1 d to the second, and then I finish up with the minus 6 because there's only one triangle. Okay, now I'm going to type in the answer. Now you don't have to put down these front ones if you don't want to. In fact, let's say that I don't put down the ones. Let's say that I ignore those ones. Let's see what happens. So I go D, I go A, B key, I go exponent of 4, press the space bar, I go subtraction, I go D, I go A, B key, I get a 2, press the space bar, then I go minus 6. So I just went ahead and dropped the ones this time. So I went ahead and just dropped the ones. So I treated it like this: d to the fourth minus d to the second minus 6. Because the other time, I included the 1. We got it right. And this time I'll just, drop the ones, just keep the negative signs, that was between the d to the fourth and d to the second. So let's check it. And it's correct.